Last year's hurricane season was highly active with twice the number of normal tropical storms. Florida was lucky, not one hit. But this year could be different, and that thanks to water conditions an ocean away. Storm Team 8 meteorologist Brooks Garner explains why Florida could be a target this year.
When assessing how active a tropical season will be, the temperature of the eastern equatorial Pacific is king. In this region, when waters become warmer than normal, as seen in red, hurricane frequency is generally reduced. The pattern is called El Nino.
The main reason El Nino reduces the number of hurricanes is because of wind shear. And during an El Nino year, the jet stream will be blowing across the Gulf of Mexico, across the Caribbean, reducing the number of hurricanes because the strong winds actually shear them apart.
Brian Lamar, the meteorologist in charge at the Tampa Bay National Weather Service office, says the opposite is true when those waters become cooler than normal, a pattern called La Nina. Those shearing winds dissipate, allowing tropical systems to go wild. We saw this last year.
What we're looking at this year for 2012, we're going to be in between the two. We're leaving La Nina, going into a neutral pattern,
likely resulting in a normal to slightly above normal hurricane season. While there's a defined relationship about how a warmer Pacific will reduce our hurricane count and a cooler than usual Pacific will actually up our hurricane count, there's still a great amount of uncertainty as to whether that affects the ultimate track, where the hurricanes ultimately go. And track is everything. A track determined by the steering currents rotating around a seasonally permanent area of high pressure.
As we see in the transition from La Nina into a neutral year, that high pressure system tends to shift to the east, and it allows storms to actually come into the Gulf of Mexico.
It may be that fewer tropical storms form this season than last.
But what we always tell people is make sure don't really pay any attention to the numbers because it only takes that one storm to change your life forever.
And 20 years ago, Floridians were reminded of this when one of the slowest hurricane seasons in history, an El Nino year, birthed a Category 5 hurricane named Andrew.
1992 was a below normal year, yet we had one of the most powerful hurricanes on record.
After a mild winter and a comparably warm spring, many people are wondering, and many of you are asking us, is this an indication of a much more active hurricane season? Storm Team 8 meteorologist Lee Spann tackled that question and has your answer.
In the Tampa Bay area, March 2012 was the warmest on record. Much of the country also saw record warmth that month and for much of the winter and spring. Since we all know that hurricanes feed off warm water, the question was often asked if the warm months leading up to hurricane season will make the tropics more active.
Warm temperatures in the winter really have no correlation with hurricane frequency in the summertime.
National Weather Service meteorologist Brian Lamar says one doesn't necessarily have much to do with the other.
It doesn't really play a significant role on hurricane forecasting because what we do look at is the overall large-scale weather pattern.
The record warm air temperatures may have made parts of the Gulf waters a little warmer.
Because we really haven't had several cold snaps that we saw in 2009 and 2010, is much warmer temperature in the Gulf of Mexico.
But warm air temperatures don't have much impact on the deeper Atlantic Ocean water. It's El Nino and La Nina events that have more of an impact on Atlantic hurricane development.
And we're looking at an El Nino developing later in the fall, which could limit the number of hurricanes we get. But across Florida, we have to remember this is the 20-year anniversary of a storm that hit the Miami area in 1992, Hurricane Andrew. So even if we're forecasting a below normal season, one storm can definitely have a serious impact.
Lee Spann, News Channel 8.
What do a British rock band and one of the costliest storms on record have in common? We'll let you know when we return for hurricane season 2012, a special report.
We are leading.